Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings as I correctly predicted yesterday. We do have a yellow wind warning issued now for the south coast of England, and we've got a large thunderstorm warning covering much of England and Wales for tomorrow as well, as we do see a very intense area of low pressure move through, initially giving heavy rain for all through the morning, and then as we head into the afternoon and evening, that's where we can see those winds really pick up and see some big thunderstorms through central parts. So have a look at the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, and also have a look at the Orome run to look at detail for these thunderstorms and wind gusts through tomorrow. And then we'll finally finish up, have a look at the GFS, GM, Eastern WF and the ensemble to see what we have in store as we head through the rest of August, as there are still quite good encouraging signs that things could turn a bit drier and a bit warmer for around the 10th of August point, so in around a week's to 10 days time. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, which do like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So to start on the live radar for the first day of August, you can see we have got another day where it's not too bad out there. A few showers in the north, mostly light, and a few showers across the far south as well, but we're in between weather systems at the moment, so generally plenty of areas got sunny skies. It's not particularly warm out there, but it's not particularly cold either, just a pretty average, or well, statistically below average in terms of temperatures, but just a sort of average day, feeling day out there at the moment. Now the temperatures as of around 1 p.m. or so are all right. We're seeing temperatures around the London area maybe just getting to around 22 or 23, but most areas around that sort of 18 to 21 degree marks. We're getting average to below average for the time of year. So starting August, not on a bad note, but not on a terribly good note either. But things will be going downhill tomorrow as we see that very intense low pressure system move in. So to go over to those weather warnings, as I predicted yesterday, we have got a yellow thunderstorm warning issued for much of England and Wales, and a yellow wind warning issued for the south coast. Now we're going to see some very strong winds tomorrow, but from the looks of the models, it's really going to stay mostly in the channel and along the far south coast. You can see here these warnings only coming a few miles inland, really. So it's going to be really the coastal areas, and if you have got any plans to go out towards the south coast or towards the channel, getting a ferry off towards the near continent, then there could be quite a lot of significant disruption. Elsewhere, we see a lot of heavy rain, and there could be some blustery winds, especially to the northern edge of the low pressure, and even across more inland areas of South England, but they shouldn't be too intense, maybe 30 or 40 miles per hour. But towards the centre of the low pressure system, where the winds are quite light, where we've got quite a lot of energy, we're going to see some big thunderstorms breaking out for much of central England and Wales as well. So do start on that yellow warning. You can see from around 4 a.m. until 6 p.m. tomorrow, unseasonably windy weather will affect coastal southern England on Wednesday, leading to some disruption to travel and outdoor activities. Unseasonably windy conditions accompanied by showers or longer spells of rain will affect southern England and Wales during Wednesday. The highest winds will affect the Isles of Scilly and Cornwall from early morning, spreading into other English Channel coastal areas during the morning, with gusts expected to widely reach 45 to 50 miles per hour, perhaps in excess of 55 to 60 miles per hour in the most exposed spots in the far south and southwest of England. Later in the afternoon, those winds will start to slowly ease, high on the likelihood, lower on the impact matrix here. It's the same wind speeds as we saw a couple of weeks ago on that very stormy Saturday we had back in July. Same sort of wind speeds, but on that day it was more widespread across much of southern England, quite far inland. We're not going to be seeing that tomorrow. It's going to be very windy, but really only towards coastal areas, which could exacerbate the impacts locally, but it shouldn't be as widespread as it was a few weeks ago. And we've got this thunderstorm warning, which will be affecting many more people here from 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. tomorrow. Heavy showers and thunderstorms are expected to develop on Wednesday and may cause some flooding and travel disruption. Heavy showers and thunderstorms are expected during Wednesday, where they do develop because they're towards the centre of the low. They could be slow moving and persistent, with as much as 20 to 25 millimetres falling in an hour, possibly 40 millimetres in 2 or 3 hours in a few places. Lightning and hail will be additional hazards, high likelihood, lower end on the impact matrix. And again, this is coming after we see frontal rain in the morning, where we could see widely 5 to 10 millimetres of rain. So it's exacerbated those impacts there. So it's not just thunderstorms tomorrow, it's going to be persistent rain through the morning and then thunderstorms arriving in the afternoon into the early evening. So do go over to the UKV first. We'll be able to see the precipitation over the next 5 days. You can see through most of today, shouldn't be too bad in terms of rainfall, but we can see in the far southwest the weather front starting to approach for the intense low tomorrow. Really only impacting the far southwest of England and the far south of the Republic of Ireland through this afternoon, but through the evening it should spread further inland, and by midnight many areas starting to get that weather front pushing in. As I said, in plenty of areas we're going to see some quite heavy rain overnight, but it does look like there'll be a bit of a break in the rain through central England, coincidentally where we're going to be seeing the most intense thunderstorms, but the far southeast overnight hours could be really quite intense. Parts of northwest England, North Wales and parts of the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland could see some very heavy pulses within this precipitation. But we have to remember, just as we saw yesterday, the models can be wrong in terms of the widespread nature and intensity, so this could be a little bit more widespread than this is making out to be. As we spread through into Wednesday morning, you can see the weather front is clear around mid-morning, and then we see the centre of the low move in. You see this wrap-around feature. This is right around the centre of the low pressure system, an included front, and this is where we could see some quite gusty winds, and we can on its southern edge there. And we could see some very heavy, persistent rainfall as this slowly moves westwards, and then we could see a lot of pop-up thunderstorms on its northern edge. You can see as we progress through the afternoon, you see the wraparound feature of that of the low pressure system gets really quite intense towards the London area, with some darker reds appearing. Again, it loses the widespread nature because it becomes more of a convective system. So the rainfall's not quite as widespread, but where it does occur, be very intense, and you can see this with these darker red colours appearing through the afternoon, and it could progress into the evening as well. UKV definitely reducing that intensity by around the 5 or 6 p.m. point, whereas I've seen some other models holding it on a little bit more towards the evening, like the Arome run does, as we'll see in a minute. But yes, intense thunderstorms through many central parts tomorrow, and you can see they are spiralling around that low, moving very slowly in the space of a few hours. Again, this only really covers about maybe 3 or 4 hours in many areas of thunderstorms, but if you have a stationary thunderstorm for 3 or 4 hours, you can see multiple inches of rain easily. So that's where we could see the issues with some flooding. Through the rest of Wednesday evening, we see a northerly wind come in, so we see actually cooler, drier air moving from the north, a few showers coming in off the North Sea and the North Atlantic for some northern areas, and by Wednesday could be a few heavy, maybe thundery showers towards central England, but again, nothing crazy at all. Maybe some more intense showers towards southern Scotland as well, but really nothing too crazy. Again, coming from the north, it's a cooler direction, but also a dry direction. That's why these showers are not quite as widespread, and there'll be more sunnier spells. As we head into Friday, we're still in that northerly flow. We're seeing perhaps a bit of a convergence zone appearing down eastern England as we start to see the wind direction transition from a northerly to a westerly. Again, that could cause some quite heavy thundery showers in the east quite locally, but where they do occur could be intense. Once again, need to keep an eye on that. And finally, as we head into the weekend, we could see more low pressure arriving from the west. Really a low pressure system that's really dominating the far south and southwest. Could give quite a soggy day there in the southwest on Saturday. Again, it's about 4 or 5 days away now, so you need to keep a close eye on it as it could move in its positioning and its widespread nature. Elsewhere, heavy showers, and that is the pattern as we head into Sunday as well, with more westerly flows moving in. Now, if you look at the wind gusts, you can see as we head into tomorrow, very strong winds across the southwest, even as early as sort of 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, but the winds really peaking around that lunchtime point. Across the south coast, again, 40, 50 miles per hour widely, could peak as high as 60. But you can see really the strongest winds stay offshore. Inland, maybe seeing 30 or 40 miles per hour to the northern extent of the low, maybe again 30, 40 miles per hour. But really those very strong winds that are warranting the yellow warning really only just skirt the south coast, mainly stay in the Channel, towards the Channel Islands and out towards the northern parts of France as well. So luckily, it looks like for this system we are avoiding the strongest winds, and those strongest winds, where they do occur, won't be widespread at all. If we do now have a look at the max temperatures, you'll be able to see that today temperatures peaking around the 22 degree mark, maybe 23, but widely sort of 18 to 21. As we head into tomorrow, it's going to be a different picture. It's going to be very difficult to say exactly what the temperatures will be because it's all dependent on the shower, cloud and thunderstorm amounts, but could just about get to 21 or 22 where we see a bit of sunshine, but where you see the persistent rain, cloud and thunderstorms, maybe 15 to 18 degrees at best. As we head into Thursday, again, temperatures may just about get to the 21 or 22 degree mark. Again, around average or slightly below, but widely elsewhere, high teens. Really not seen a particularly widespread warm day for a number of weeks now. Really been quite disappointing. And then finally into Friday, again, maybe 20, 21, and Saturday, again, maybe 20 in the far east, but look in the far southwest across parts of Wales and southern England, abysmal 12 to 14 degrees under all that persistent rain. Again, I wouldn't take that too literally, as that positioning of that rain and the widespread nature of it can and probably will still change in the coming days. Now, if we do go over to the Arome run, perhaps a more highly regarded model, at least in this very short range, than the UKV. Again, it's a French model, so it really only covers regional France and just about extends into parts of England, Wales, and the Republic of Northern Ireland, and unfortunately doesn't cover Scotland, but luckily for this event, it really is an England and Wales event. We can see as we head through this through this evening, you can see the heavy rain spreading in, really quite heavy in places. And it's going to continue through the overnight hours, giving quite high rainfall amounts for many regions, but clearing mostly from central inland areas by around 5, 6 a.m. Could linger, said for northern areas up towards the Scottish border, but then we see the big thunderstorms move in for the afternoon. You see the wraparound feature around the centre of the low, initially just heavy rain before it turns more thundery toward the afternoon hours, and you see all these purple regions, that's the Cape building during the afternoon, and big intense thunderstorms start to break out through the evening before eventually moving away out into the channel. If we just refresh it, it doesn't look like it's run on, unfortunately, beyond 6 p.m. But you can see here, at 6, 7 p.m, we still got some quite intense thunderstorms around the London area, whereas the UKV had it completely disappearing and dissipating away. So Arome definitely keeping those thunderstorms going further into the evening and keeping them quite intense through those central areas. As said, not the most intense thunderstorms we've seen this summer, but they're very slow moving, so where they do occur and where they are very intense, perhaps across the Midlands, towards the northwest, towards the London area, West Midlands, these regions where they do linger and are very slow moving could drop a lot of rainfall in a short space of time in a localised area. Again, could cause quite a bit of disruption. If we do have a look at the wind gusts as well associated with this, again, the strongest winds along that south coast, really around the lunchtime hours tomorrow. You can see darker colours here appearing just off the coast. Perhaps the strongest winds towards the southeast, towards Kent, towards the Isle of Wight, Southampton area, getting up to maybe 60, 65 miles per hour. But again, the widespread strongest winds really across parts of northwest France. Again, if we actually do go over to the French outlook here, you can see the strongest winds really across parts of northern France quite widely, coming inland around the 50, 60 miles per hour point. So really, much of southern England is actually getting spared by the fact that this low pressure system centre is a little bit further southwards, actually across southern England, meaning the strongest winds are elsewhere. So yes, we've covered what's be going over the next couple of days, but if we do have a look at the longer term, which many of you will be interested about, whether we can see anything warmer and drier, and what is the update on that warmer and drier runs we have been seeing recently. Now, over the next few days, and the next sort of week in general, we still got the pattern of very unsettled conditions. See the very stormy feature moving through tomorrow, and we see more lows moving through towards the weekend. That's the low on Saturday that could give that intense rainfall in the south and the southwest. But as we head beyond that, you can see the westerly winds do reduce a bit as we head towards around that 8th to 10th of August point. The low pressures are not rumbling in off the Atlantic as much, and this is because high pressure is building across Central Europe. Now the GFS is a little bit in between today, still trying to push low pressures in, but they're not really making much inroads. We're kind of in between weather systems, not under the strong high pressure system that is dominating in Europe, but not under the low out in the Atlantic, kind of in between, and it will mean that it will be drier, warmer, but there'll still be quite a few showers and maybe thunderstorms around gusty winds further north and westward, so kind of in between. The upper air temperatures are nothing too exceptional, but they could get warm at times. You can see the very hot air is very close by. And you can see the temperature deviation getting towards 10 or 12 degrees above average just across parts of France, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium there. So we are very close on the periphery of hot, dry air. But unfortunately, this GFS run kind of has us on the in-between point, not quite pushing it in. So it is it's close to being something of a change. It's not a dominating westerly flow like we have had recently, but on the other hand, it isn't a completely dominating high pressure warm spell either, unfortunately. Now, if you compare it to the GEM, again, big westerly flow coming in at the moment, continue dominating over the coming days, and that continues into the weekend as well. And as we're towards day 10, similar to the GFS, where we do see high pressure dominating across parts of Europe, low pressure out towards the Atlantic, but because of the change in the wind direction, the change in the orientation of these low pressure, high pressure systems, we're actually putting in some very hot air, a big Spanish plume appearing here, getting towards that 8 to 10 degrees above average point. And again, this would give temperatures in the high 20s, if not 30s. Unfortunately, though, because the low pressure is very close by, just to our west, we'd probably actually see some big thunderstorms. You can see big, heavy bands of rain that would be very close to moving in. And again, there would be some thunderstorms and very unstable air associated with that. So we'll have to see what happens. GM, though, not going amazingly dry, not building that high pressure in completely, still keeping those low pressure systems close by, but definitely drawing in some much hotter air. Now, the ECMWF, on the other hand, sort of is more of a perfect scenario. Again, we see low pressure coming in off the Atlantic continue over the next few days, and as we progress beyond that towards the day 10 point, we see the high pressure build in. The low pressure is much weaker towards the Atlantic area, and we're actually sandwiched under this high pressure with it dominating over the top of us, keeping us fairly dry, and it would be getting warmer. The temperature deviation here still got some colder air nearby, but the wind direction would generally be slowly coming up from the south, so we would start to draw some warmer air. Again, the temperatures here wouldn't be anything exceptional. We're looking at perhaps low 20s widely by the day. Again, unfortunately, we can look at the midday and 6 p.m. temperatures, so the temperatures won't be great, maybe 20 or low 20s. Nothing to write home about, but it'd be a lot drier. Again, if you look at the precipitation here, very minimal precipitation around the UK at this point, by around that sort of 9th to 11th of August point. So you can see all three runs are showing some sort of improvements, but not really giving us a perfect picture. ECMWF is closest to being the best sort of pattern, but it unfortunately has still got some reasonably cool air. GM's got the very warm, hot air that would give 30 degree sort of weather, but unfortunately is associated with more unstable conditions and thunderstorms. GFS is similar, where it is quite unstable, but even on the GFS doesn't actually bring in that much hot air. But if you compare it to the ensembles, you can see they're more encouraging for dry conditions, very unsettled over the next week. But around that 10th of August point, the upper air temperatures slowly rise towards average or above average, and precipitation does drop to almost minimal on quite a few of the runs. Still a few spikes appearing, but much less than what we've got recently. The 2 meter temperatures are improving drastically as well, towards the low 20s or mid 20s into the longer term. Now, if compared to the ECMWF ensembles as well, pretty cool over the next 7 days and very unsettled. But once again, towards the 10th of August point, rising up towards average, or actually quite above average around that 11th or 12th point from many of the ensemble members, drawing up some very warm air around the 15 degree isotherm from quite a big chunk of them, and lower precipitation as well. Not nothing, but much lower. The 2 meter temperatures are fairly encouraging in the longer term into the low 20s as well, but once again, it is at that day 10 range and beyond, so there still is a lot that could go wrong, but at the same time a lot that could go right for a bit of a change in the status quo that we've had recently. So yes, quite disruptive weather over the next day or so, with very windy conditions for some across the south, and some quite stormy conditions with thunderstorms around for many in central areas. So do stay safe tomorrow. If you have got plans, do keep an eye on the weather warnings. I don't think they will change, but do keep an eye on them, as they could be updated through tomorrow morning if there's any drastic changes in the models. Of course, I'll probably have another video out around lunchtime or early afternoon tomorrow. Again, sort of looking at the event as it does unfold. But the best thing to do, really, if you have got plans, is to just keep an eye on the live radar, see when those thunderstorms are popping up, and see if they are in your vicinity. But as I said, make sure you stay safe, and hopefully we'll see something a bit more of an improvement as we do progress through August. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.